This is harsh terrain and harsh weather. And because of the way that the Biden administration is not enforcing the immigration laws, it's attracting people and enticing people to make this very dangerous trek, causing them to lose their lives. I urge the president, stop the loss of lives. You have the ability to stop people from losing their lives if you make it clear that no one can come across illegally. There's a perfectly legal way that people can immigrate to the United States of America. It's that legal pathway, Mr. President, that you must insist upon. And if you do that, you will have a role in reducing the loss of life. Now, going back, many of these deaths could be prevented if Biden simply fully funded the Border Patrol operation of the United States of America and implemented the policies that the Border Patrol needs in order to do their real job. And the real job is not the paper processing work that they've been assigned to do. The real job is both to secure the border as well as to do things like inspect the vehicle that was carrying those people who lost their lives. As you all surely know, the truck passed through a border point checkpoint. It was not inspected. It was not inspected because the Border Patrol does not have the resources to be able to inspect all of the trucks. And as a result, the Border Patrol did not have the capability of saving those lives. Mr. President, you can fix that if you provide what is categorized as the minimum number of Border Patrol officers who are needed to do the fundamental job of the United States of America and adequately fund their operations to make sure that they are going to be able to inspect those vehicles. Well, in Texas, we once again are going to try to step up and play a role by the state to address this catastrophe that President Biden is responsible for. Today, I'm announcing that Texas is going to add additional truck checkpoints. DPS will create and implement a checkpoint strategy beginning immediately where they will begin targeting trucks like the one that was used where these people perished to make sure that we will have a better capability of perhaps stopping future trucks like that, as well as stopping the smugglers and the cartel members who are trying to profiteer off of it. Now, we're in Eagle Pass today for a reason. Eagle Pass is part of the Del Rio sector, and the Del Rio sector has seen the largest number of illegal crossings in the past week. There was a time when most of the illegal crossings would take place in the Rio Grande Valley, and that's no longer true. Right now, we're at ground zero here into Del Rio, where we have the largest number of border crossings, and we have information indicating that there could be a meaningful rise in the number of border crossings in this region. So we want to step up and make sure that we will do more to better secure this area. As the mayor told me earlier, he said the situation in Eagle Pass has gone from bad to worse with the increased number of people coming through this area. The bottom line is this: despite the increasing numbers, despite these caravans on the Mexico side of the border right now, the Biden administration still is doing nothing whatsoever to stop it. Texas is going to take action to do our part to try to reduce the illegal immigration coming into our country. We're going to be adding more resources and stronger strategies to control all the borderland that is owned or controlled by state or local governments. Let me make clear what I just said. The property along the border is owner controlled typically by three different groups. There is some property that's owner controlled by state or local governments. This property we're on right now is controlled by the local government. There's other property that's owner controlled by the state. However, there is some property on the border that is owner controlled by the federal government. If it's owner controlled by the federal government, Texas does not have the authority or the capability to stop the illegal immigrants from going to that land. There's another area that we are working on, and that is private property. There are people, whether it be in this community or people up and down the border, who own property on the border. We are getting authorization from as many of them as we can for the state of Texas to be able to put up barriers, whether it be concertina wire or fences or other types of barriers, so we can prevent people from entering the United States and the state of Texas through that private property. Along these lines, I'm announcing a couple of new strategies that we're adding on to what we are already doing, so that Texas can gain even greater operational control of the property owned by the state of Texas or local governments or private property owners. We are creating 2 strike teams. The Texas Department of Public Safety is creating 2 strike teams to detect, deter, and apprehend unlawful crossings of illegal immigrants. 2 strike teams deployed. They will be deployed immediately right here in Eagle Pass. Each team will consist of 20 troopers. Additional strike teams will be deployed to high traffic crossing areas as needed. Separate, and in addition to that, the National Guard is taking additional action. By the way, it's important to point out that the National Guard, they've been deployed to the Texas border for more than a year now, many of whom are with us here today, and we appreciate their tireless around-the-clock effort to do everything they can to help secure the border. But what they are focused on right now is deploying additional miles of concertina military-grade razor wire along the Rio Grande River, protecting areas from entry by people illegally. In addition to that, the National Guard is adding miles of fencing and barriers on state and local property, once again prioritizing the high traffic areas. And they are also going to be adding boat teams where feasible along the river. One thing that they have been involved in and been very aggressive about already, they have numbered more than 22,000 turnbacks of people who were trying to come across the border that they turn back. That is an essential role of what the National Guard is helping us to achieve. At this time, I would like to call upon Director McCraw of the Texas Department of Public Safety to add more about what DPS is doing.
Governor. Thank you, Governor. As the Governor noted, Del Rio sector for the first time over a decade, for the first time ever, is the central point for human smuggling for the nation relates to border patrol. The Del Rio sector, he mentioned, is where we operate in right now. This is what Maverick County is. It's the reason why he's having the press conference today after visiting with local officials, seeing what their needs are. And clearly there is, this unmitigated flow of people into this area. He's tasked, and we're doing right now, as he pointed out, 2 trooper strike teams are already arriving in Maverick County. It will be supplemented by another 3 next week, and if we have to bring another 5, we will. That number brings up to 200 already over the resources we have dedicated to it. In addition, he talked about commercial vehicle enforcement strike teams. That's our troopers that have authority to work commercial vehicle traffic. They're trained in it and have the expertise, along with civilian inspectors, along these smuggling corridors. Not on the border, but the smuggling corridors that they use to move people always up into San Antonio, to Houston, to El Paso, other locations. We're going to have these checkpoints in these areas. And we'll be in a position, I can assure you, that our troopers will be able to identify the smugglers. And what they're doing right now is they're using clone trucks and vehicles that appear to be legitimate, that look like they're legitimate, that's easy to pass through the particular checkpoint. But I can assure you our troopers will be able to identify whether it's legitimate or not and take action at that point in time. That's a deterrent. And that's also have an opportunity to save lives. Already, we've been able to identify 983 illegal immigrants in truck, tractor, semi-trailers thus far since the governor launched Operation Lone Star. Additionally, after talking to the chief and the sheriff, we're going to deploy strike teams of DPS special agents to conduct surveillance and look for these cloned vehicles, stolen vehicles that are staged along the highways used to smuggle people, further north, and also identify stash houses, which is very important to disrupting Mexican cartel operations. And though predominantly those stash houses are in urban areas, that are contiguous with Mexico. That'll be another focus, Governor. And of course, the brush teams, as we heard, they're penetrating some of the particular areas and working with landowners, getting access, and we'll put into the elite brush teams we have with the National Guard and our troopers that are trained in special response tactics and our special operation group as well. Of course, increased UAVs, Governor, we're going to put in here as well, and includes pilot resources to support helicopter operations to support the surveillance activities looking for stash houses. That's it.
Thank you. And now General Seltzer from the Texas National Guard.
Good afternoon. The Texas National Guard continues to take unprecedented action along with our partners here to secure the border and protect Texas communities. In response to this...
You've been listening to officials in Texas discuss the deaths of at least 53 migrants. Governor Greg Abbott says he blames the Biden administration for the tragedy, saying it is not doing enough to stop illegal border crossings. Now, in a written statement released yesterday, the president said the administration is still investigating the facts of this case. The statement went on to say that attacks from political opponents amount to, quote, political grandstanding.
We have breaking news right now. A judge has sentenced singer R. Kelly to 30 years in prison. He was convicted in September of racketeering and 8 counts of sex trafficking.
During the trial, multiple witnesses spoke about how they were sexually and physically abused by Kelly. Prosecution argued he used his celebrity status to create a, quote, network of people at his disposal